everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, No More Secrets. As always, I'm your niece, Katie Albrecht.
And I'm your aunt, Mary Albrecht. And today's topic is about adrenaline, not only just adrenaline, but being an adrenaline junkie. The reason that I'm bringing this up is that my therapist says that I have become one. Oh boy. Okay, sorry. There's another call from Uncle Stu. We can.
He tries it on a different number. Yeah,
exactly. We can talk about that. I mean, well, you guys know him on the podcast anyway.
Yeah.
He has ways of barging in at inopportune times. So anyway,
right.
He's on my phone. He distracted me. But my therapist said that I've become an adrenaline junkie from being a caregiver. You know, running from emergency to emergency, really since Grandma. Even a few years before she died, because she got her bladder out and everything was an emergency. She was in rehab for 4 months. It was constantly calling Mary, come over, fix it, get her down to Park Ridge, do the, and it's been like I've been running in a caregiver mode ever since. So then Grandma died, then we had her funeral. And then Grandpa had a stroke, and I had to get Grandpa used to living without a wife, so I was there every day. And then Ken died, planned that funeral, and, then after that it was about caring for Grandpa, and that morphed into Terry's cancer, and now Steve needs surgery. My brother, the one that we just talked about, needs open heart surgery, and then Grandpa's death and all of that. And so it's just, I feel like I've been running on adrenaline, on fumes.
Yeah, because you've been the caretaker for all of those people.
Yeah, I mean, long before even, and then Terry and I, we had 15 surgeries between the two of us, major surgeries between 2004 and 2019. 15 surgeries. I mean, talk about that. And then Grandpa
that is a lot, yeah.
He had a car accident, and he had a brain bleed. He had surgery. My mom had a hip replacement. Then she had the cancer removed. Then she had her bladder replaced. I mean, it just goes on. And this is all since like maybe the last 15 years, but really the last 10, it's ramped up. And so anyway, she mentioned that she basically said, what are you going to do when this all slows down? Which I kind of thought it would slow down once my dad passed. But then in the meantime, Terry got cancer, and now Steve needs open heart surgery, and we have to sell the house and move Steve, and I got to deal with my dad's estate, and da-da-da. So she's like, well, there is going to come a point where it probably, hopefully, is going to calm down, and then you're going to crash, okay? Mm-hmm. And so she's trying to prepare me in advance for that, and it became kind of obvious to her because one little thing would be taken off my plate. Like, I can't even remember if one little problem got solved and I would add something else on. Mm-hmm. Like, I'd be like, oh, well, I added classes. Oh, well, I decided to start visiting Pat now, Dad's girlfriend. Like, meaning she says that my tower is like this tipping tower, and it's always just, on the verge of falling, but it's always this sort of rush to keep it up. And then when one little thing comes off and it stops shaking, I add something else on and it starts doing that again. Anyway, so I started to think about adrenaline, addicted to adrenaline, and it's like all I'm used to. Like when things, I think we even talked about it when your dad first died, or at least like a year later when we were used to it, that we were a little bit bored because we were so used to always dealing with emergencies.
Life was too calm, yeah.
Too calm. I think we even said it on the podcast.
Probably, yeah, because it was so chaotic. You were always walking on shells when he was alive, and you're always wondering when the next devastation was going to happen.
And it normally was when he called, everybody bristled in the house. My mom did, I did if I was over.
Yeah.
My dad, Steve. And usually it was a big bad thing, not a big good thing. Like, oh, I got a promotion, or I got a job. Period.
I got a job, period, yeah.
So it was always this like big thing, like, I had a car accident. I'm in jail. I passed out in the snow. Just all those things. So.
Right, and they kept getting bigger as time went on too. So
right. So I think
naturally we are. We think we're addicted to adrenaline, because it's when that wasn't happening. I think we did it to ourselves a little bit too.
Yeah, exactly. We would create it, right?
Yeah.
And then and even you said that you would use it as a distraction, like in high school?
I liked, fun type of adrenaline.
Not negative adrenaline.
I can't say I like the kind that you were putting yourself through. I liked going on roller coasters. I liked going on fast things. That's why I always enjoyed skiing and like all those adventure kind of sports and everything, because it was a nice distraction from everything else that was going on. And I just would get my heart pumping, my body would feel like really good, and it would last for maybe a day or so, where you're just like, yeah, that was awesome.
And if you think about it, you did actually switch adrenalines from negative to positive, because you probably, like you say, walking on eggshells in your household. Well, go out to a park and get on a roller coaster, and you still have the same kind of like rush, but it's positive.
Yeah.
And it's your choice.
It was
versus
my choosing, to go on this roller coaster or to go skiing or go, do all those like cool things.
Rather than have it inflicted on you constantly, day in and day out.
Yeah. And, once I start going to therapy again, because I will be this coming week.
We have the same therapist.
I did that on purpose. So just a little side note, because when you have a family like ours, it's really hard to fill in the backstory of everything that
Easy
happened.
10 years.
Exactly. So that's why I was like, same therapist. I met her at the funeral. She sounds great. Like, perfect.
She read our book. She's had me for almost a year. She knows the whole,
and she knows the backstory, so I don't have to spend several sessions just filling in on stuff that isn't quite relevant.
And she said that both of us had to be okay with the other one having the same therapist, and I'm like, I have absolutely no secrets from Katie.
Right.
I mean, there's just
we do a podcast called No More Secrets with each other. We've done therapy together before,
right?
Where we talked about all this stuff. Like, it's not like we're going in and like shit talking each other.
Yeah, you're like, oh man, that Katie, don't tell her I said this.
Yeah. I mean,
there's none of that. So
yeah, it wasn't a concern. But
in fact, if anything, it'll fill in a lot of gaps for her. She'll get a different perspective of our family, which will make her shake her head even more, because they find us fascinating. Those therapists.
I know they do.
Sadly.
Well, I mean, we do have a lot of examples of mental illness in our family, and then there's not everyone's willing to talk about it or throw their phones about it, No, not everyone's willing to open up about the stuff that goes on. So I think when people do that, therapists really enjoy that in their work.
And then when she got to come to their funeral, she really got to see some of the dynamics through the pictures and some of the little souvenir kind of stuff we had from my childhood. And she's like,
paints more of a picture.
She goes, this is fascinating. Oh my God, this is so twisted. Fascinating. Her eyes got real big.
Therapist or best friend.
It was so funny. But, speaking of grandma, though, with me being the caretaker of her, so many people in our family, even people that are overall forgiving, really think that the adrenaline that she had by being Ken's primary caregiver and accepting person gave her the cancer. That's why she got cancer, because that's one of the side effects of being a caregiver. I don't know if you remember Christopher Reeve, Superman, who got paralyzed from the neck down, and 9 years he lived and with his wife at his side, and after he died, she died 9 months later from lung cancer, and she never smoked.
Wow.
9 months.
Yeah.
So I'm a little worried about me, because I kept thinking, oh my God.
The worry is probably perpetuating it too.
And the worry is giving me cancer. But I feel like, no, Grandpa's giving me cancer. And let me just read this from this article. It's called agingcare.com. And the title of it is, Can Caregiving Kill You? It was really intriguing to me. And then here's what she writes.
Seems appropriate. Yeah.
I asked this question because there is such a correlation between mental and physical status. My husband died a horrible cancer death, and I was constantly at his side. He was the love of my life. Due to his relentless pain, neither he or I slept, and emotionally I felt like my heart was being crushed. I had tons of adrenaline going, especially for the final 6 months. The morning after his funeral, I woke up in pain, spine spasms nonstop for many hours. I wasn't even able to move, as it felt like every muscle in my body was cramping, like a leg cramp everywhere. I'm never sick and not a complainer. This was entirely not like me. Anyway, I went to the ER, and the doctor said that after prolonged adrenaline rush, months in my case, the funeral ended, the adrenaline rush stopped abruptly, In that case, a person may react in her weakest area. My back had been bothering me for a few months, but not a big deal. However, that would be considered my weakest area. Anyway, that experience taught me a lot about stress. Any other experiences like this? And then I'll go a little bit further, but just for this one example, yes, I truly believe that caregiving can kill you. I know the stress of just dealing with my parents has affected my health. I developed breast cancer when there were no other markers pointing at me. I am now in remission, I hope, as I haven't seen my oncologist in over a year, but am now battling panic attacks. So yeah, it's basically a whole discussion about this is the most stress I've ever experienced, worse than divorce. Unpredictability is what stresses me, never knowing who to expect, the rush of adrenaline, and then it ends, and then I get sick. So that's the theme that we're talking about here. And so adrenaline junkie could be, somebody that purposely goes skiing down the highest slope or whatever. But in this case, it's like you say, the negative adrenaline that you're not inflicting it on yourself. It's forced on you. And then it's so negative. And so she's working with me at trying to prevent any kind of problems that
Your
come.
therapist?
Yeah.
Okay.
After the adrenaline stops. I kind of have a feeling it's not going to stop though for quite a while because I got Terry with cancer. We got to move Steve. He's got to have open heart surgery. I got to deal with the estate. So yay, I still get to have lots of adrenaline for the next couple of years.
Lots of adrenaline, it seems like, yeah.
But anyway, she is encouraging me to do certain forms of meditation and breathing exercises and even reading and understanding and talking about it. Oh my God, Steve's calling again. Talk about adrenaline junkie. Okay, so I'm going to vent here because now he's got to have open heart surgery, but he's using this as a way to get more attention from me. And he doesn't listen to this, so it's okay. But he just is lamenting, oh my God, this is so bad. This is awful. And I just am saying, Steve, you can fix a mitral valve that is not shutting. You just go in and fix it. Terry has terminal cancer. There's no cure. It's just a crapshoot. Stop whining and lamenting. He calls me 8 times a day now to lament about his heart and how...
Which he already did before that.
But it's double now.
Now it's more extreme.
He called 3 times since we started this podcast.
Yes, yeah. Which was 10 minutes ago.
Yes, exactly.
So if this... we've said little bits of Steve throughout the podcast, but I think we're still painting a picture of the type of person that he is.
Yeah, and I am going bonkers. And he did finally, now this is another thing my therapist suggested, was that I hire him a caregiver of his own. So it's not me. And he finally okayed it. He doesn't really know what I mean by that, but I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm basically going to hire him a friend that knows about medical stuff.
That's good.
And they even have people that
probably love it because the caregiver is hired to
serve him.
So and think he's awesome, and that's how he sees himself.
He's a rock star.
Yeah,
he's still a rock star. The world's almost best musician, or something like that. So
right.
Sorry okay. Now there's a voicemail. Okay, so adrenaline. This is my adrenaline surging, and it gets foisted on me because there they are, those Albrechts.
Should we talk about what adrenaline actually does to the body? I think people
please.
know.
Yeah.
But I looked up the definition before. I think it's it's a chemical that gets released, also known as epinephrine, right? So it's what is in an EpiPen with they heal severe anaphylactic shock or something like that. But what it does is it kind of increases the blood flow. It makes your heart rate go faster. Kind of gives you a little high almost.
So if you're toxic, it's actually cleansing the toxins out of you.
Right. And it's you don't actually feel if your body is going through extreme pain or duress or something like that, you don't necessarily feel it while the adrenaline is coursing through you. Okay. And it's interesting because I think why people get addicted to it is because while you're on it, it's like a drug. You might be a little bit stronger. There's stories of, hysterical strength, which I might read some examples because some of them seem kind of interesting later. But
yeah, like when people like literally lift up a car off somebody who's
off
crushed.
their like kid or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because it's the adrenaline coursing through them, and they normally couldn't do such a thing, you know. But people get addicted to it because it's like a high. It's like you're on a drug that makes you feel powerful and strong and like capable, you know, like more so than maybe you normally do, even though when it wears off, you crash.
Yeah, big time.
And yeah, you start to feel, if you're in an accident, you may not feel the pain right away, but then later on you start to feel like, oh wow, my leg's broken, you know, and it's just, you don't realize it as you're going through it.
Yeah, and they also link it to the fight or flight response, which we've talked about, where you're not rationalizing what's going on. You're just dealing in like instinctive mode, like you say, if you're in a car accident or whatever, you're just like trying to survive. But later when you're like, holy shit, I almost died, then everything starts to hurt.
Right. Or if you're thinking mentally, you might be experiencing symptoms of PTSD, where you're like, oh wow, that happened, and you start to replay it. And I think the replaying is more painful than the actual event.
It is, and that's what my therapist said. Once all this is done, once we sell Acorn Lane and get rid of that house and get rid of all the stuff and get Steve out of there, even if Terry's still around or whatever, it's going to be a big crash getting rid of that house with all those memories, because it's really over, you know, with Grandpa dying and stuff. It's going to be like, I don't know. I don't know what to expect, but she's like, just, you know, be ready, you know, for a waterfall of tears and, you know, gut-wrenching pain. I'm like, thanks. Maybe not.
But hey, you're prepared for it, so maybe it'll be a little bit better. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So I really do struggle with things.
I just struggle with life.
With, you know, things. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, so I love that idea of the hysterical strength.
Yeah.
I like what they call it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. That there's like cases where you just do, maybe I can look up a couple of things, but there's some cool articles on this stuff. We were sitting yesterday just talking about all this stuff, and it's just fascinating what the human body can do.
You mentioned like a mom fighting off a polar bear or something like that for her kid or something.
Hang on. Let's take a look.
So if you think about it in the wild, think about adrenaline in the wild. Like really, a mama bear will just go crazy, you know, to defend her cubs.
Oh my gosh, even horses.
Or even something smaller.
Any mom animal, yeah.
Yeah, it could be they'll just, you know, and they might be fighting something 3 times as big, but they don't care. They're on adrenaline. They're not thinking. You know, they're instinct.
It's instinctual, and maybe this is the closest that humans get to instincts, you know?
Right.
Because we have, you know, logical thought, that things that animals don't necessarily have, but we don't have instincts technically. So
as good. They're there somewhere.
I mean, like the stuff that you're born with, because humans aren't born with survival instincts.
Really?
Like we can't just go into water and swim. There's extreme examples.
Oh,
that's what I mean. Like how animals just know how to swim.
Yeah, they can walk.
They know how to clean themselves, or they know how to do all this stuff. We have to be taught all that stuff.
Interesting.
So I feel
we know how to breathe.
We know how to. So I guess breathing is the one instinctual thing that we can do. Yeah. I might be wrong. There might be other examples, but
we have very limited, is what you're saying.
We're very limited survival instincts.
Wow, I never even thought of that. That's fascinating, Katie.
Yeah,
I learned something from my niece.
I'm wicked smart.
She's smart.
Wicked fucking smart.
I mean, fucking smart.
Oh, well, my phone just shut off. But yeah, one of the examples was that the mom...
battery-wise, you mean? Or?
No, the screen didn't turn on.
Oh.
It's probably because I downloaded that 25-minute video on my phone.
Okay, that's another thing we tried to do. We're trying to send the sermon to some friends and relatives, and it's 25 minutes on the phone, and we're trying to figure out how to make it accessible to people that aren't really technologically advanced.
Yeah, and it's a big file, so we can't just text it. It takes a little bit of... thought.
All right.
So it's on my phone now. It's probably making it go slow. But I can go through some of these examples.
Yeah, I like that.
This is a Healthline article. We'll link it in the
Healthline is a good
description.
resource. Yeah.
So the one you were saying, mother fights a polar bear. It says in 2006, the Globe and Mail reported that a 41-year-old mother living in a remote village in northern Quebec had wrestled with a polar bear to protect her two sons.
Did she win? It doesn't say, maybe.
It's a couple paragraphs. When the 700-pound polar bear swatted her, she fell on her back but continued to kick her legs. Fortunately, a bystander had seen what happened and shot his rifle into the air several times to startle the bear before killing it. It looks like she placed herself in between her sons and the bear and then was like attacking it and kicking it and punching it. And I don't think it was enough to stop the polar bear from what it sounds like, but it was enough to like slow him down.
So that when the person came along and could shoot it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she was able to...
So she saved him.
Yeah, she saved her kids, and she walked away with only a few cuts and bruises and received a national award for bravery.
Oh, well, there you go. 700 pounds, though. Can you imagine?
That's a lot, yeah.
That's like what, I mean, we're like, both of you and I are like 100 pounds, right?
No, I got a couple more than that, but...
Me too. Anyway, so...
But yeah, so this is kind of an interesting... There's other examples too, but it's just kind of fascinating that our bodies are so capable of it. And I guess I read somewhere else that you only experience that sometimes. Like, you don't experience your full strength of your body all the time because it would be too exhausting for your system and everything.
Yeah.
So your body exhausts itself to kind of protect it, because otherwise it would be too much to handle all the time, you know? Like, it would be a lot.
Well, I mean, my level of adrenaline isn't like wrestling a polar bear. So
I don't know. It sounded pretty similar.
I mean,
all the caretaking.
Sometimes I'm just so exhausted, but I don't have any time to slow down. And I just keep pushing through and I'm on fumes, you know. So now my chiropractor said that she thinks the reason that I'm chronically late, which Katie and I share, not Sherry and I, Kate.
I see the confusion there. Yeah.
Chronically late because you get adrenaline, like, you know, I gotta go. Oh my God, now I'm in traffic, and now, oh God, red light. Oh my God, you moron in front of me, blah, blah, blah. And so that somehow I'm just used to that. And so it either isn't enough bad to stop me from being late, or it gives me a fix or whatever. But I mean, I chronically wish that I wasn't so stressed when I'm driving somewhere because it's so unnecessary.
It really is. And I'm the same way, where I tend to lean on the later side.
Oh boy.
We got a kitty.
Yeah.
Do you want to go?
Yeah, can you? Because I'll knock the camera.
You'll knock the camera, so you'll just sit here and look pretty, kind of thing?
I will, yes. Hello. I'll sit up taller. I'm just sitting here. She's opening the door for the cat that meows incessantly when we forget to open the door. Okay. So.
Wow, she sprinted.
I mean, I think she's obsessed. I don't know if that's really adrenaline, but she's certainly obsessed with that door.
Yeah.
So,
okay, I'm back. Oh boy there.
But there was a whole thing you were talking about with procrastination too,
which I think is similar to being on time, because you procrastinate leaving.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I was a procrastinator in school to the point now where I still get nightmares about it. You know, of just like turning in assignments and not being told, like, this happens in my nightmares anyway, where they won't accept it, and then I'm like about to fail the class and stuff. I don't know why it's a reoccurring thing. It's always the same class. It's my like high school history teacher, Mr. Calendar.
So it's high school. Me too. It's not college.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder why it's always high school. I always go back to high school.
And then I wake up and I think, well, wait, I got a college degree, so I must have graduated high school. You know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's always high school. It's not college at all.
And I'm like, I don't know how many times my subconscious has to replay this, but I graduated high school and college. Like, I don't need to worry about this anymore, you know?
Yeah,
like,
there we are. So there you, that leads.
I think it's because we procrastinated. And I mean, I did anyway. I procrastinated in school.
So that's what leads to what you said at the beginning is the connection between adrenaline and then the adrenaline slows down and you have PTSD.
Yeah.
So that's probably what you have in your nightmares or your dreams.
Actually,
whatever.
that's a good point. Yeah, because I was filled with adrenaline while, doing the staying up all night right before an exam or right before a paper was due. I mean, there's a lot of crazy examples. I've even I used to think that writing a paper would be easier with taking a couple drinks. So I would go out to the bars and then come back and everything.
Makes perfect sense to me.
And it was
it does.
It was the last of the last minute to finish this paper.
Whoa.
And I'm now looking back on that, I'm like, why did I think staying out till 2 a.m. would help me write a paper? It's just.
So, but why are we like that then? Is it because we're trying to distract ourselves? Is it related to your dad? Is it?
Or I don't even know if we're trying. I think it's just a subconscious reaction, where.
I also know for me, and this isn't probably for you, but in my case, my parents were so predictable and so on time and methodical and whatever that all three of us kids rebelled against it. We all liked being more chaotic with everything we did. Last minute, being late, not getting, the right grade or whatever on purpose. So.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's
me
why.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's how her family was.
No, I mean, we were always unpredictable, and I think I learned unpredictability through unpredictability, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how it could happen from both.
And maybe again, it goes back to that we wanted the control of the unpredictability. It was a way to polarize it because that was always thrust upon us, all that stuff with Ken. Mm-hmm. And we never knew when it was coming. But this way, we were in control of it. So we would have the familiar rush that came with growing up in a chaotic household, but it was something that we initiated. And therefore, we felt more in control of it. Ha! Mm-hmm. That sounded brilliant.
Yeah, you're wicked smart.
Wicked smart. Smart. Pretty. So pretty.
This is going to be the whole officiating that you do for our wedding.
Right.
So I'm Mary, and I'm really pretty.
Yeah. Well, Reverend Mary. Yeah, don't forget. And I can't wait to park in all those parking spots that say chaplain at the hospital, which, of course, I'll be at the hospital a lot because, I'm a caregiver.
I can't wait for you to finish your officiating and then sprint over to the DJ booth to be the DJ,
To be change my hat and there I am. Ha, me again.
It's me again.
Your worst nightmare.
Oh man, that's like something out of a comedy or something, But
here I am being the aunt again. But we also talked about your dad, and it's so funny to think of him as an adrenaline junkie because he was so lazy.
Yeah.
But it seemed like he created some kind of rush in the form of fights in order to get his fix, right?
Yeah, I mean also in sports too.
Okay. Yep.
In sports, we always go back to it. It was his healthiest way of getting this stuff out because he was, a sociopathic in nature or narcissistic, something in that realm, or maybe all of them. But they always need control and they're always wanting to win. And what a better way to do that than being in a, athletic environment.
Okay, yeah.
So I feel like he always did that in sports. He always got out the adrenaline that it kind of filled the void. And then also when he would fight with us, like you were saying, how if there wasn't anything, he would create it just to get that emotion and get the adrenaline from the heightened emotion.
Yeah, get the fix, right?
Right. Yeah.
So did he ever do any kind of speed kind of drugs that you know of?
I thought he did downers. You mean like
is it ecstasy, speed, or cocaine?
Yeah. No, I don't. Not that I know of.
But he did sugar.
He did have a lot of sugar, and I think he had a lot of caffeine in his Cokes.
And all those Cokes, like 24 of them or whatever, right?
Yeah, towards the end of his life, after he was done drinking and he was on the prescription meds, he would also drink, several 2 liters of Coke Zero a day.
Yeah, just several liters.
2 liters.
Wow.
Yeah, so like
Several 2 liters.
yeah, like the big bottle of.
Whoa.
You would drink multiples. I don't even know how many. I don't want to even guess. But he had a lot. So he got caffeine from that. He got sugar from that. Even though it's Coke Zero, so it's good for you, right? Or something. That's what people argue, but it's not.
Okay, so that
still soda.
is like Steve as well, because he goes to the health food store
Yeah.
and gets healthy cookies and gets like
Readjust
five packs of them, and he eats them all at once because they're healthy. So he must have about 60 healthy cookies.
Nutrition.
It just seems to be our family or something. But
Eating in excess, gluttony. Yeah.
And just extremes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, going back to your dad, mom always said, my mom, so that would be your grandma. This is my niece.
Thanks for sharing.
Aunt Mary.
You're my aunt?
I'm your aunt.
Oh my gosh.
I'm your aunt too. All of you. So,
okay, Aunt Mary.
Reverend Aunt Mary.
You're not reverend yet.
Okay.
You're not ordained.
Darn. Okay, soon.
September 18th of this year, you will be.
Might be worth getting it sooner, just in renewing it, just so I can say I'm a reverend.
Yeah, just for bragging rights. That sounds about right.
And parking. But yeah, so grandma always said that your dad did the best when he had a reason for his anxiety. So if something happened, like, there was something really serious, like he got in a car accident and that wasn't his fault necessarily, which I don't know if that happened, but that would be an example, that he would be really calm because he would have his rush of adrenaline. If there'd be a reason for his anxiety versus this free-floating anxiety that you don't really understand why you have it, so it kind of drives you crazy. Mm-hmm. So if he didn't have it, then he would create it in the form of some kind of issue, some kind of fight. So definitely I would call him an adrenaline junkie too. I mean, he was a junkie, period, but definitely adrenaline as well.
Yeah, I think so.
And so speaking of that, are adrenaline junkies, is that where addiction comes from to cocaine and that kind of thing, the rush?
I can imagine it's similar.
What's ecstasy? Is that kind of like is that a stimulant? I mean, we're not experts, are we?
I have very minimal knowledge. Ecstasy, from what I've been told, it just makes you everything, like all your senses kind of feel heightened. Mm-hmm. And it makes things feel good, and you feel like you're just high on life kind of thing. I mean, that's probably the watered down version of it.
Okay.
Like I said, I haven't personally experienced it myself, but I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's similar to adrenaline, because adrenaline is kind of a feel good or, hold it together chemical that goes through your body and everything. And then if you don't get that, you just insert it into yourself, or snort it or whatever from the drugs.
So that's
just a different kind of
easier
high.
and faster than it is to drive up to the top of a mountain and ski down the slope. That takes a while to get that rush.
And I guess some people don't like that. They're kind of scared from it. There's trees and stuff you could run into.
Yeah, but
safety hazards.
But there's so many people that, like, for instance, love driving fast. Mm-hmm. Like, motorcycles. That's got to be a rush, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always think so. I always like going fast.
Yeah, and we also talked about being in the zone athletically.
Yeah.
That is a really neat feeling. Like when you're on a run, even if you're not in a race at the time, but you're just in a run and you're just in the zone, man, you got this. That is such a rush. And to me, that's healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to think if that's different than what's the difference between adrenaline and endorphins? Because endorphins is like the stuff is that what happens afterwards? Like you just have a glow throughout your body when you're exercising anyway.
Well, it releases during the exercise and then it carries on. So it's not quite the same as, it's one of the pathways of the brain that is feel good emotions.
Okay.
Feel good neurotransmitters. So yeah. It's kind of a cousin to epinephrine, but epinephrine comes literally from more of like a shock kind of, versus a sustained, all of a sudden you're slowly getting high, and there you are, and then it lasts. So I'd say one is like extended release and the other one is immediate release.
Okay.
Which, I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, endorphins definitely are also a high.
Yeah.
And I think what's really cool about this topic, and didn't you say people could comment on YouTube?
Yeah. I mean, if you guys have, if you're watching on YouTube and you have stories of extreme adrenaline, or if you think you're an adrenaline junkie yourself, feel free to comment below, and we'd love to see it, because it's an interesting topic. I like hearing what people have to say about it, and it just really shows how amazing humans are.
Yeah,
we can do a lot more than we probably think, physically and maybe mentally too.
Well, and I think it's so good that we have adrenaline to get us through those times when you would die if you didn't have it,
Yeah.
But I really do. I think what I got most out of this episode, which I didn't think of yesterday when we were talking about it, is I didn't think about adrenaline that you choose to create versus adrenaline that's foisted upon you. And I think there's huge repercussions with the negative adrenaline, because it's not fair. It's like, I don't want this. I don't want to be all anxious and my heart pounding in my throat.
Right.
And I didn't do anything to ask for this, but yet here it is, and I got to do it,
Yeah.
And so I think that's where I go back to this aging care thing, where I have to work on my meditation. Because like here, this person says, I firmly believe the stress of caregiving and the adrenaline that it produces can kill you. When I was trying to work full-time and arrange in-home care for my mom who has dementia, I thought for sure I was going to have a heart attack. It was an incredibly stressful time, and I was used to working in a high-stress environment. I finally gave up my work and decided to care for my mom. The stress is much less now. I often wonder, though, if we caregivers can't die of a broken heart. All the things we've given up to do this job, all our dreams, all our homes, our homes, our careers, our lives, it's all so incredibly sad. How much loss and sadness can one human being take? And that's what I think about me, even though I know I look really happy, which I am mostly. But how much can I take? You know what I mean? Like we didn't even have my dad's funeral, and we're at the surgeon the night before finding out Steve has to have open heart surgery. He's got nobody else except for me. Of course, I'm going to hire him somebody. But it's just like every time I think can't get worse, it gets worse. Like when Terry got cancer, really the worst kind of cancer, one of the worst. How can it get worse? Oh, well, his heart stopped for 6 minutes, and now only a third of his heart functions, and he has a defibrillator and gets shocked as he walks through the house. Oh, I guess it can get worse, And so it's kind of like, whoa, I do worry. And even the podcast gives me a little bit of adrenaline, because sometimes I'm just really tired, and then it's like, here we are, and then I get all pumped up.
Yeah, I mean, right before this, both of us were like kind of dragging. For me personally, it's because I had tequila last night.
I'm so proud of her.
I know.
She's not hungover. She's just tired.
Yeah, I'm just tired. I don't have like a headache or anything. But when you're kind of dragging, it's sometimes hard to motivate. Maybe we can do an episode on that, like being on when you don't feel on. You know,
and I think we're discovering that with being podcast people. Podcast people. I don't know. I wouldn't say we're specialists or stars, but we're people.
We exist.
You can't
in the
deny
podcasting world, I guess.
Like
yeah,
people, But I always think I've learned a lot too through the podcast about what musicians have to go through when they're doing tours and concerts, or like Ellen DeGeneres when she has to go on week after week after week, and you just don't feel like it sometimes.
I think she got canceled.
Well,
not Twitter canceled, but her show got canceled.
Well, I thought she chose. She announced that she's ending at the end of 2022.
Yeah, I think it because.
But is it because of the problems, you think?
I don't think as many people were watching it. I don't know the full story, but I was sad to hear it, honestly, when I saw that.
Or like if you're doing a sitcom and you got to go, what if it's every day where you have like you got to go on and do the news every day? Like I just don't understand how people do it when they don't feel on.
It's just showbiz. Like it's like a mindset. The show must go on kind of thing.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I've heard of people being really sick and then performing a whole concert or something, but the show must go on, so they don't want to disappoint thousands of people that are maybe coming to the show. They have to be on. Broadway stars is another one. Like,
oh my God, and they do like at the Marriott, not even Broadway, but just anything like that, where they have to do like 2 in a day, like, and then a matinee on Sunday. So like 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and then a matinee Sunday.
I think, bringing this full circle in those situations, well, first of all, they probably take a lot of like sick medicine, for to give themselves a little bit of
sick medicine.
Yeah, I don't know what else is it, flu medicine or cold medicine. They probably take a lot of ibuprofen
for what? Oh, because of their soreness.
If they're sick, yeah.
Oh, if they're sick, okay.
They probably like drug up pretty much, for the easier way to say it. But then it's got to be adrenaline too.
Once you get on stage, you're just like,
you just got to go. And then like your body kind of protects itself and then you crash afterwards. I'm guessing that's what happens in those extreme situations,
So that explains why a lot of movie stars and a lot of musicians especially get into drugs, a lot of cocaine.
Yeah. Oh, that actually makes sense.
And a lot of heroin. Yeah. Is heroin an upper? See, we're just not druggy people.
Anyone want to
sorry
inform us of this?
But
comment below.
Comment below. But definitely cocaine.
The camera turned off. So yeah, cocaine is definitely an upper and everything. But so what we're I think we could wrap it up a little bit.
One of our cameras just turned off.
Yeah,
because we're so overwhelming. The cameras go off before they're supposed to, because they're just sick of us.
Just sick of us. But yeah, let us know your thoughts on adrenaline down below in the comments of YouTube, and just if you have any stories about extreme cases, we'd love to hear it.
That would be fun to hear a bunch of extreme cases like the polar bear thing. Like I just love hearing stuff like that, the superhuman nature.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, and it's something that they can't scientifically prove, which I found was interesting. It's like you can't test the near-death experience thing with super strength and adrenaline because you don't want to nearly kill someone because you could kill someone.
Because you could make a mistake and go too far. Yeah.
So scientifically, like there's no official studies of it, but it's like it just seems to happen enough that it's likely the case,
Yeah. Well, okay, yeah, we can't kill them, but socialization. I was just thinking that because I'm going to see my friends after this on their deck, and I'm thinking that's kind of an adrenaline rush, right? Socializing.
Well,
if you like the people,
or
even if you don't.
Maybe if you're life of the party type, where you like to, how you like to, when you're a group of people and you kind of perform for people.
Then that would be adrenaline.
I feel like that's
for
an
sure.
Adrenaline rush for sure.
We were like that in college, meaning Katie and me, but we weren't in college at the same time.
We weren't? I swear I saw someone just like you.
What? Okay.
Well, anyways.
Yeah, because one of our cameras shut off, so we better go before the next one does.
We're professional, I swear.
We're people. Podcast people.
We're just people.
Look, my hand. People.
Anyways, we will see you next time. Yep. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Shane's going to put this on.
Probably.
There's our kitty again.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out this week's episode of No More Secrets. If you liked what you saw, subscribe below.
And be sure to check out our website, thealbrechtauthors.com, where you can also purchase a copy of our book, Broken Neck. You better f***ing do it.